Now, 2 days ago, we witnessed 8 candidates cleared to run for the next coming elections for the position of president of this country. And one of them, you met them on that day. I'm talking about Safina party aspirants, Paul Muite and his running mate, Shem Ochuodho. And this afternoon, I'm joined by Shem Ochuodho to just bring us to speed in terms of why exactly you want to be president. Karibu sana at the news desk.
Hi, Bonnie.
Bona Ochuodho, we met you, or we heard of your candidature, of course, with Paul Muite.
Right.
2 days ago. Was that a little bit too late?
Actually, it wasn't 2 days ago.
Okay.
Honorable Paul Muite was picked on as presidential candidate by the Safina National Convention.
Yes.
In the public limelight. It was actually covered in July 2011.
Correct.
So it's something that happened much earlier. For some reason, it may not have been in the radar, in the mainstream media. But yes, it wasn't 2 days ago. Maybe the running mate, yes, that came on later, but that's happened the same in other cases as well.
All right. We'll get to the issue of the running mate and how it was that they chose you. But in regards to how the other competitors are doing their campaigns, we've seen a lot of flashy posters and announcements. We haven't seen much of that from Safina. Why is that?
You know, Safina is a stickler to the law, and this is one of the reasons that I opted to back Honorable Paul Muite. The elections are meant to start officially next week.
Correct.
So anything that has happened before
was not in accordance to the law.
It's not accordance to the law. And we actually surprised that the institutions that are supposed to have looked into that haven't raised that. Even worse, there are people who have used public resources to campaign, particularly the ministers in government. And this is a bit disappointing because we'd expected better to have happened. Yes, so we'll start the campaign at the right time next week.
And still on that, of course, Bwana Ochuodho, you've been named as one of the sharpest brains in Kenya, coming from introduction of IT to this country, the work you've done in Rwanda. What exactly do you intend to do come 5th of March if you are indeed having to form an administration with Bwana Paul Muite?
Thank you for the very kind, generous compliments. We do appreciate that moving forward, countries that are going to dominate the global economy must be those that have harnessed, embraced information and communication technology. Kenya is doing a little bit of that, but much more could be done, and we've seen it happen in other countries. Mauritius is a very good example, Singapore, and so Korea, and so on and so forth. And we believe there's no reason why it can't be done here. One of the prerequisites to do well in ICT is having the requisite human capital, and Kenya has got plenty of that.
Correct.
So that's one of the areas that Safina will be focusing on, the Safina government will be focusing on, if and when Kenyans give us an opportunity to lead. But that will only be one. We'll also be focusing on agriculture, because that's the mainstay of our economy. Safina, we do appreciate some of the work that's been done in terms of developing the road infrastructure. But Safina will go a step further, because we recognize that although it's good to have the highways, but the major beneficiaries of the highways is not the Wanjiku that's right down there in Lamu or in Kirinyaga that will benefit from that. It's mainly the business people who would use that highway. But again, there's a trickling effect. So in the end, everybody benefits, but maybe the grassroots won't benefit directly. However, Safina government will spend, for every Kenya shilling that's spent on the road, will spend twice on harvesting rainwater, so that the bulk majority of Kenyans can be involved in productive agriculture. And what's more, we will be having agriculture that's mechanized. So technology will be, and innovation will be cutting cross-board.
Correct. Of course, your presidential candidate Paul Muite and yourself, and also your party chairman Mwalimu Mati, you've been very critical on the dealings of the government of the day in terms especially in fiscal discipline. How will you ensure that we're not talking about 1 trillion budget when we cannot really sustain that as a country?
Yes, I think in this particular regard, Safina is very fortunate to have Mwalimu Mati. And sometimes I wonder, he goes through figures with a tooth comb, sometimes as good as computers that we work with, and that's commendable. What Safina would want to reassure Kenyans that if we have a chance to rule, to govern, that the same standards that have been seen coming out of our corner, yes, in terms of forensics, in terms of the figures that are from the public resources, will still apply. That we will ensure that every penny that's collected from the Kenyan taxpayer goes for the intended purpose. Yes. Because we have seen the effect of countries like Botswana, that where every penny goes into the intended purpose, and where they have moved to, despite meagre resources that one would say that they have. So we would want to reassure Kenyans that Safina Party would continue doing that, and more particularly, we would be prioritizing government expenditure, for example, in the area of health. Yes. Safina is targeting the lower quintile, if I may call it, call it the bottom billion, where the majority of Kenyans are. It's so unfortunate that 50 years, Bonnie, into independence, yes, that 80% of the Kenyan population live below $2 a day. I mean, that's unacceptable. Safina is keen to turn that around, to narrow the gap between the haves and the have-nots. And for the health sector, for example, Safina intends...
I was actually coming there because you just mentioned a figure I wanted to highlight. Right. More than 80% living on less than $2 a day.
Correct.
What exactly is your policy in regards to healthcare? We are still in a country where we're grappling with setting up a healthcare system. Right. What does Safina have to offer in regards to healthcare?
The Safina government will ensure that in the first year, financial year, 15% of its budget will go into ensuring this universal health service, yes, healthcare. But we'll also have interventions that focus on preventive rather than curative health. Yes. For example, malaria is one of the major problems that we face as Kenyans and Africans generally. One of the easiest interventions to deal with malaria is to provide treated nets to the ordinary Kenyans. That will go a long way at reducing the health bill. But yes, in the first year we intend to use 15%. I should mention that we were delighted that government recently came up with this law that's saying 2% of our budget is going to go into science, technology, and innovation. Indeed, the African Union...
That, of course, is good news to you.
Yes, absolutely, because that's the way to go. Yes. So that's one thing in the right direction. But yes, for health, we'll be doing 15%.
If we're talking about more than 80% on less than $2 a day, of course, it means a huge chunk of our population remains unemployed with no source of livelihood. Right. Which begs the question on security then. Right. Let's just zero into Nairobi. What's your plan in ensuring that Nairobi is a safer city when you take over office?
Yes, security is a major concern, or insecurity is a major concern to Kenyans. Yes. And, but Safina government will not just address insecurity as a problem. There is a bigger root cause of insecurity. Yes. A good part of it, because most of the culprits, the people that are involved, most of them are Kenyans. Yes. We fail sometimes to ask, why is it that they have to break into people's homes at night, for example? I don't think anybody enjoys that. There may be a few who do enjoy that, but the bulk majority of them, we take the position that it's the situation they find themselves in. They need to get a livelihood. So Safina would be very keen in uplifting the very lowly placed, so that there is no temptation. At least they would be able to meet the basics. Unfortunately, some of these are provided for in the Constitution. And we capture them very candidly in our manifesto, the Safina Manifesto. We're proud that we're one of the first parties in contention that launched our manifesto in July 2011. The Bill of Rights, that's chapter 4 of the new Constitution, does guarantee basic needs, that government will ensure that every Kenyan doesn't die from want of food, yes, and that would have good education. Correct. In fact, Safina government will go a step further. Will not only sustain the free primary education, will not just move it to secondary education like others have proposed, but we will be looking at lifelong education, right from nursery to university. So the Safina Kenyans and Safina won't have the trouble that we have seen of candidates fighting over degrees.
But Ochuodho, of course, your candidate, you and Paul Muite, have been also critiqued as being elitist and idealist, and also just the elephant in the room. We have seen a lot of opinion polls of late. You haven't featured. Does that worry you?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I remember 20 years ago when we were trying to get internet into Kenya, we were called elitist, all this kind of thing.
Yes.
But today, many would agree that even if they're not benefiting from the internet, because majority of Kenyans still don't have internet,
Yes.
but almost everybody is benefiting from M-Pesa. The Safina government will strive to bring technology to the people so that it makes sense. For example, why does somebody need to go and queue for 2 hours to vote, which you could do by just some bursary? And Safina is not just talking here theory. These are tech solutions that already exist in prototype form
Yes.
that can be used. Yes, we will strive to bring technology to make sense, to be appropriate technology.
You're going against Jubilee Coalition, Cord Coalition, and the Money Coalition, all that are well-financed. They have a well-oiled campaign machinery. In terms of your finances, are you in a position to put up a good fight that will be significant come 4th of March?
You know, Bonnie, it's unfortunate that the people we've seen with flashy campaigns are those who've been holding senior positions in government. It's like that then becomes an avenue for being so well endowed, which is a bit unfortunate. In fact, one of the things that the former head of EACC, when it was CASA, Professor P.L. Lumumba, said that I did agree with a lot, was that it's important to get leaders not only to declare their wealth, but to account for it. So whatever little or whatever much somebody has, it is vital that they account for it. How did they make it? So Safina, of course, may not be able to match the kind of flashy, flamboyant campaigns we have seen, but we still feel we have an important message to Kenya. We feel we've seen the flamboyance over the years, but that has not changed the status quo.
We've seen a lot of course, today is the deadline where aspirants are supposed to submit their papers to the IEBC in terms of presence in the regions. In a sense of numbers, how many aspirants are we talking about running on the Safina ticket in the different positions?
Safina compares pretty well with the other parties in terms of candidates being offered, right from presidential down to county representatives. We have about 500 county representatives candidates. We hope all will be cleared, or most. In terms of parliamentary seats, we have 52 candidates. We hope all of them will go through. We must mention that no single party seems to have that dominant majority that we used to see before. This is why you've seen some of the other parties going into coalitions, because on their own, if we talk as individual parties, we feel we're doing pretty well. But more importantly, it's often said that it's not so much the size of the dog that matters, but the size of the fight in the dog.
In the dog.
So quality is a major premise in Safina. Not everybody that came knocking was given a certificate.
Just to bring this to a landing, we just have less than 31 days to go to the elections. What's your strategy in ensuring that the voter in Marsabit gets to know of the policies that you're selling?
I must mention that even though we may not have been as visible as our competition, we have been on the ground. Safina has got teams in every county.
Yes.
That, excuse me.
Sorry.
That has been campaigning for a presidential candidate, and they'll continue doing that. So they have been out there. It's not that we are starting now, but we will use all manner of mechanisms, different legitimate mechanisms to reach out. Some of them are fairly innovative, like what's happening now. We will have rallies like others have done before, but we want to do it within the provision of the law.
Indeed, many thanks for speaking to us at the news.
Thank you so much,
and all
Bonnie.
the best as you campaign. Just 30 days to go. We
Thank
hope at
you.
the end of the day, voters in Marsabit, as we're talking about, will be able to know what is happening as regards to the policies you're selling. And good luck.
Thank you very much.
Great. Moving on, it is just 31 days to the next general elections, and the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has announced an elaborate month-long voter education program to kick off on Sunday, the 3rd of February 2013. Now, the program will be delivered at the County Assembly ward level, with IBC officials hosting forums for the public to attend between 10 a.m. and 12 noon. Now, the focus will be on peace campaigns and the voters' role in ensuring peace during the polls.